Why did the Austrian Empire, once the dominant power in Europe, decline so drastically by the time World War I rolled around? You might wonder how an empire that had a massive influence in shaping post-Napoleonic Europe could fall so far. Well, the story of Austria's decline is complex, and it all begins with a series of internal and external challenges that started shortly after Napoleon's defeat. After the Napoleonic Wars, Austria emerged as a key player in shaping Europe's future. The Habsburgs, the ruling dynasty, wanted to reset the continent to its pre-revolutionary state. They didn't want the sweeping changes that came with the French Revolution. But this goal of preserving the old world would soon clash with the forces of nationalism and industrialization, both of which would unravel the empire. The first major blow to Austria was nationalism. As revolutionary ideas spread across Europe, the concept that each nation should have its own state began to gain traction. This was a huge issue for the Austrian Empire, which was a patchwork of different ethnic groups, including Germans, Hungarians, Italians, Czechs, and others. Nationalist movements started to grow stronger, and many of these ethnic groups began to demand independence. In 1848, revolutions erupted across the empire. Ethnic violence tore through regions like Hungary, Italy, and Bohemia. The Hungarian Revolution was especially significant, as it required Russian military intervention to suppress it. This event forced the emperor to abdicate, and Franz Joseph took the throne, but the empire was already teetering. The second major factor was Austria's inability to keep up with industrialization. While countries like Prussia were rapidly industrializing, Austria lagged behind. The Habsburg leadership was stubborn and reluctant to make necessary reforms, believing their traditional aristocratic system could still hold strong. But Europe was changing fast. The Austrian Empire failed to modernize its economy and military in the same way its rivals did. This stagnation would cost them dearly in the years to come. The next blow came from a series of poor foreign policy decisions. For example, during the Crimean War, Austria chose not to support Russia, a crucial ally. This alienated Russia and weakened Austria's position in Europe. Things got even worse in 1866 when Austria was defeated by Prussia in the Austro-Prussian War. This defeat led to the dissolution of the German Confederation, with Austria losing influence over Germany and ultimately being excluded from its affairs. The result? Austria was no longer a major player in shaping Europe's future. But rather than admitting defeat and pursuing serious reform, Austria tried to hold on to its former glory by splitting into the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1867. The idea was to give Hungary more autonomy to keep it from seeking independence, but this move only further weakened the empire. The dual monarchy created a fragile and divided system. The Hungarians were determined to maintain their power and often blocked Austrian attempts to reform. This political deadlock made it impossible for the empire to modernize or respond effectively to growing pressures. Even when Austria considered reforming into a United States of Greater Austria or expanding into a triple monarchy with Slavic territories, Hungary vetoed any change. Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the throne, understood that the empire needed to change, but his assassination in 1914 sealed the empire's fate. When World War I broke out, Austria was already on shaky ground. The empire was struggling with industrialization, internal ethnic strife, and the failure to reform its political structure. Nationalism and a refusal to modernize ultimately crippled Austria-Hungary, and the pressures of the war shattered it. The once proud empire that had stood at the heart of Europe for centuries was gone. So what happened? Nationalism, industrial stagnation, political disunity, and poor foreign policy decisions all contributed to Austria-Hungary's decline. It's a cautionary tale of an empire that couldn't adapt to the changing tides of the modern world. If you look at the trajectory from the height of Austrian power to the collapse in 1918, you can see how a combination of internal and external factors can bring down even the mightiest of empires. And it all happened in just a century.